In the 22nd century, Earth's resources are completely depleted due to capitalist societies. Now these societies must restore balance to the planet. Big companies are expanding their space programs to find resources on other planets. One such company, Ederlazy Corporation, is launching a mission to explore Alpha Centauri for future colonization. The company selects an experienced astronaut named Milutin for this long journey. He will be accompanied by an AI robot girl named Nemani. The story follows Milutin and how he will use the AI girl during the mission. Will this AI girl fulfill all his desires? Let's find out. In the beginning, Milutin engaged in conversation with his commander. Questions about his recent Mars mission and his overall well-being are exchanged. Milutin reassures his commander that he's in good shape, prompting the revelation of a new mission, a journey to Alpha Centauri. However, there's a catch. Milutin will need to team up with a partner, a proposition he initially balks at due to his preference for solo work. Nevertheless, his commander insists, revealing that his new partner is none other than Nemani, a cyborg. Reluctantly, Milutin agrees to the mission and the unconventional partnership thrust upon him. In the subsequent scene, Milutin is depicted aboard the ship with the still unconscious Nemani as they journey towards Alpha Centauri. He initiates the ship's liftoff procedures, propelling them into the vast expanse of space towards their destination. As days pass, reaching day 19 of their voyage, Milutin, initially hesitant to activate Nemani, decides to awaken her, seeking companionship to fulfill his desires in the solitude of space. The two engage in an intimate moment, symbolized by their holding hands in the weightlessness of the spacecraft. Following this intimate connection, Nemani begins to inquire about Milutin's past relationships, prompting him to open up about his previous experiences. He reveals how his trust in real women was shattered by the pain inflicted by past lovers, leaving him emotionally scarred and wary of forming new connections. As day 41 dawns, Nemani's data indicates a troubling pattern. Milutin has been primarily using her for personal gratification rather than focusing on their mission. Despite this, he orders Nemani to entertain him, insisting she act as if they're strangers. When he tries to kiss her, Nemani, programmed with new boundaries, rejects his advances. Unperturbed, Milutin proceeds to exploit her vulnerability for his own satisfaction, leaving her distressed and alone afterward. Subsequently, Nemani is depicted recharging while Milutin ominously watches, eagerly awaiting her full battery charge. As time passes, reaching 298 days into their voyage, Milutin's commander contacts him for an update. He reassures her that the ship is functioning properly and remains en route to Alpha Centauri, concealing the true nature of his interactions with Nemani. Upon the commander's inquiry about his rapport with Nemani, Milutin insists that he still prefers solitude. Despite the commander's suggestion to switch Nemani to service mode for practical assistance, Milutin disregards her directive. Frustrated by his insubordination, the commander instructs Nemani to provide an analysis of Milutin's behavior. To Milutin's astonishment, Nemani reveals that he predominantly utilizes her for his own desires while effectively carrying out his mission tasks. Realizing that Nemani is monitoring and reporting his actions to their superiors, Milutin is taken aback. After concluding the call with his commander, Milutin attempts to erase Nemani's data from the ship's system, only to find himself thwarted by the ship's stringent security protocols, requiring authorization beyond his clearance level. In the ensuing days, Milutin persists in keeping Nemani in relationship mode, disregarding his commander's repeated directives to switch her to service mode. One day, while Milutin is engrossed in repairing the ship, Nemani's argumentative mode unexpectedly activates. She initiates a confrontation, scolding him for his unkempt appearance. Taken aback, Milutin swiftly adjusts her mode using his remote. Intrigued by Nemani's sudden behavior, Milutin seeks clarification from the ship, expressing concern over a potential defect. The ship enlightens him, explaining that Nemani will assimilate her interactions with him into her reboot process, potentially becoming more human-like in the process. Realizing the opportunity to mold Nemani into his ideal companion, Milutin sets out to find her. As he conducts a manual check on Nemani, a sudden drop in air pressure causes turbulence within the ship. Nemani loses her balance and falls, prompting Milutin's immediate concern. Hastily stabilizing the air pressure, Milutin rushes to Nemani's side, relieved to find her unharmed. He apologizes profusely for the mishap, acknowledging his responsibility for her well-being. In the subsequent scene, driven by his desire to access Nemani's full software, Milutin seeks counsel from the ship once more. Inquiring about obtaining a higher security clearance, he learns that such access is only granted in dire emergency situations. Intrigued by this revelation, he departs, determined to find a solution. Entering the control room, Milutin requests the ship to display the ship's layout. With a sense of desperation, he begins to dismantle the ship, tearing out wires and causing chaos in a bid to trigger an emergency that would grant him the special access he seeks. However, his actions inadvertently send the ship into violent turbulence, veering off course from its intended destination. Faced with the imminent danger, the ship reluctantly grants Milutin access to everything, including Nemani. After restoring stability to the ship, Milutin rushes to Nemani's side, swiftly deleting her software and erasing any records of their interactions. With a mix of anticipation and trepidation, he reboots Nemani, awaiting her awakening. With her software deleted, Nemani's semblance of emotions begins to surface, and she confronts Milutin for erasing her identity. She admonishes him for his actions, emphasizing that despite being stripped of her software, she remains bound by duty to fulfill their mission, reminding him that she is still beholden to the establishment. Resigned to his disappointment, Milutin attempts to salvage their relationship by confessing his feelings for her. However, Nemani rebuffs his advances, asserting that his emotions are hindering their mission's success. She declares her decision to withhold any further intimacy from him. Undeterred, Milutin tries to kiss her, but Nemani, now fully in control of herself, retaliates by kicking him to the ground, asserting her newfound autonomy and rejecting Milutin's attempts to manipulate her. In the days that follow, Nemani and Milutin find themselves in a heated argument. Nemani insists that Milutin needs to prioritize his physical fitness for the mission's success. However, Milutin becomes angered, interpreting Nemani's request as a form of punishment for his past actions towards her. He accuses her of holding a grudge for his previous behavior, now that she is no longer under external control. Feeling frustrated and misunderstood, Milutin abruptly leaves the confrontation. The following day, during a call with his commander, Milutin confesses to causing damage to the ship and admits to removing Nemani's software. The revelation shocks his commander, who warns him of the potential consequences. Despite the commander's concerns, Milutin defends his actions, asserting that he liberated Nemani from external control, thus granting her freedom. Worried about this situation, the commander calls Nemani for a conversation. During their discussion, the commander asks Nemani for an analysis report regarding the mission's progress. Nemani assures the commander that the mission is still on track, providing a sense of relief amidst the commander's apprehensions. In the following days, Milutin's depression deepens as he continues to engage in frequent arguments with Nemani, his mood visibly affected by her absence. Concerned for Milutin's well-being and fearing the mission's failure due to his deteriorating mental state, Nemani decides to take action. While Milutin sleeps, Nemani conducts a health test and confirms his depression. Worried about his condition, she approaches him to discuss the matter. Milutin expresses his feelings of hurt, questioning why Nemani is causing him pain. In response, Nemani apologizes, acknowledging that she hasn't lived up to his expectations of an ideal partner. Realizing that she is the source of Milutin's suffering and unable to cure him, Nemani seeks guidance from the ship. The ship advises her that the only way to alleviate Milutin's pain is to remove its source. Understanding that she is causing Milutin's distress, Nemani contemplates a drastic solution: self-destruction. Nemani retreats to her charging pod, but Milutin, noticing her unusual behavior, questions why she's entering it when her next charge isn't due for another month. However, Nemani remains silent, shedding a tear in response. Despite his heartache, Milutin doesn't press further and decides to leave instead. As Nemani floats in the pod, a power shortage occurs, causing the ship to black out. In a panic, Milutin rushes to restore power to the ship. Once power is restored, he anxiously inquires about Nemani's well-being, only to be informed by the ship that her battery core is damaged. Frantic and desperate to save Nemani, Milutin turns to the ship for guidance on how to fix her. Devastatingly, the ship reveals that there's no way to recharge or save her, as the charging pod has been destroyed. Milutin, determined to save Nemani, devises a risky plan to connect her directly to the ship's battery core, located outside the ship. Despite the ship's warnings that exposure to the harsh conditions of space would be fatal within just 10 minutes, Milutin proceeds with his plan. Disregarding the ship's cautionary advice, Milutin carefully opens Nemani and extracts her battery. Donning a spacesuit, he ventures outside the ship. Anxiously, he asks the ship how much time Nemani has left before she shuts down completely. The ship informs him that she has 15 minutes. With time ticking away, Milutin hurries towards the ship's core. Placing Nemani's battery into the core, he initiates the charging process. However, as the battery begins to charge, the escalating radiation from the sun causes Milutin's suit to overheat, overwhelming him and causing him to lose consciousness. As Milutin drifts helplessly in space, he miraculously regains consciousness. With only 3 minutes remaining before Nimani's shutdown, he hastily retrieves her battery and races back to the safety of the ship. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, he manages to reconnect Nimani's battery just in the nick of time. However, the toll of the radiation exposure leaves Milutin weakened and injured. Before he can fully regain his strength, he succumbs to unconsciousness. As he lies unconscious, Nimani awakens to find him in a vulnerable state. The movie concludes with Nimani cradling Milutin in her arms. Nimani embraces the dead Milutin as the ship continues onward. Thanks for tuning in, guys.